Good morning. Well, good afternoon here in Pennsylvania, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and let everybody into the room here. We'll get started here in about a minute. Guys can hear me okay? Okay, thanks, Jared. All right. Welcome back, Frank. Haven't seen you for a little while. Good to see you today.
Thanks, Eric.
Let's see here. Anybody else? I'm not sure if anybody else is coming in. Larry usually comes in, but I'm not sure if he's able to today or not. But we'll go ahead and get started here in just a second. We have a week 2 agenda to go over, but we'll answer any questions from week 1, or if you guys want to role play or go into any scenarios, we could do that as well today. We've been having, probably on average 5 or 6 people on the calls, so not a ton. So we can make them as customized as you guys want. We don't have to go into any particular agenda if you guys don't feel that's the best route to go. But we are recording today, and I'll post this up on our YouTube channel as well. But before we get started, any wins for the past week? Anything you guys have going on that's good in the agent attraction realm?
I've got one that's onboarding right now.
Oh, good.
Larry and I had an interview with another last week, but I had to run. I didn't get a chance to finish the conversation. I got the impression like he probably wasn't the best fit for the group. I haven't spoke to Larry about it, but that's okay. It was an agent I didn't even know very well, so it all.
No, that's, yeah. I mean, are you doing a 3-way with Larry? Are you setting them up with him for a second call? Okay.
Yeah, just a 3-way. Seems to go pretty good so far. So
yeah, that's the best approach. We typically go over our value proposition, not so much, we don't push anybody, to go in the direction of EXP. This is a group that's in has a lot of value that we can offer individuals. We're starting to even get involved with some commercial stuff right now. We have some agents we're talking to in different parts of the country on the commercial side, so it's good to have partnerships like that. So that's my focus is I don't really talk about the nuts and bolts of EXP, but once we do, then we can explain the fee structure, what agents would be expect to pay on a monthly basis, which honestly our fees are pretty low compared. I mean, the only difference might be with a broker owner, but then they have to pay for their IDX website, they have to pay for their emails, they have to pay for their E&O. I mean, it's not a free proposition by any means, so we can definitely do it. I think very cost effectively. I don't know anybody in my Pittsburgh market that has a lower fee structure than what we have. Everybody charges at least what we're charging and more to be part of a brokerage. So, well, any other wins since this time last week? Well, let's go to any questions. You guys have any questions you wanted to focus on today? Anything that you wanted to tackle or dive into?
One thing.
Go ahead,
one
Jared.
thing I've seen in my market for a few offices, I've seen a few offices go completely EXP. Has anybody in the group actually brought on an entire office?
As a matter of fact, I have. We brought on an office down in Mobile, Alabama. We did this over a year ago, and they brought, I think, 9 agents over with them. And we're talking to, I'm actively talking to about 4 brokerages right now, nationwide. So that seems to be something that more and more brokerages are seeing, that there's a benefit to using our tools, using our admin, lowering their decreasing their liability cost, because it's shared liability, not just their liability. So there are some benefit to it. There is a group up in New England called the Bean Group. They were over 200 agents. They came over back in, I want to say, January, February. And then we have a person that helps us with that onboarding. It wasn't us that brought him in, but that person that helps us with onboarding actually went to New England to help this particular group onboard all their agents. Some came on as traditional agents, some came into the commercial brokerage, some came in as as referrals. So that's something that's good to know about, that we have actually three brokerages that you can join in EXP. The traditional, which all of us I think are a part of right now, where you get you get a KV Core, you get a website, you get email, you get Sky Slope. You also you have access, at least in our group, to our transactional coordinator. But now actually EXP starting to do their own onboarding, although we're still doing our own. We like the onboarding that we do, but they're kind of doing the same thing that we've been doing for the last year, where we're doing group onboarding. They're actually starting the same thing. And then you have the referral brokerages. These are for agents that don't want to show or list houses, but they have a book of business that they can refer to other agents. And that brokerage only would cost an agent $50 a month to be part of that brokerage. They still get KV Core, they still get access to Sky Slope, they pretty much get all the tools. They don't have to they don't have to belong to an MLS, and they don't pay the $85 a month. They just pay the 50. We have right now, I think we have about 4 agents in our group that are just referral only. They needed a place to hang their license. They're, the one person down in Florida, she's working with doctors to help them buy practices and also sell their practices. And she wanted to have a real estate license to be able to do that. And then our commercial brokerage, there's other fees than a commercial broker will pay, but they get more tools. And I don't really know the ins and outs of the commercial side of things. If you guys ever needed to have a conversation, or you had an agent that was a commercial broker or commercial agent that wanted to have a high level conversation, we have a couple different people that we can have you guys talk to. One person's name is Dusty Bates. He's out of California, good friend of Larry's. Basically is my go-to for commercial conversations. And then there's a Sean Murray, who's an EXP exec that we can also have conversations with if you have commercial agents that we're talking to. But yeah, to answer your question, Jared, there are more and more brokerages coming over. I think we're going to see that over the next couple of years, especially with the NAR stuff. Brokers and small independents realize that they're taking a lot on themselves from a liability standpoint, and they just don't have the tools that the bigger brokerages have. And with EXP leading the way over the last 3-4 months with these changes, and our CEO and our executives being on Zooms and YouTubes and doing a lot of training, I think we're ahead of the curve for most other brokers out there. I'm sure there's some of the bigger ones are doing a good job as well, but we've been nationally recognized. We've been on CNN. We've been on the most of the broadcast media as leading the charge and basically putting together the best formula, I think, for this new change. And they're saying it's the biggest change in 100 years in real estate. So it's a pretty big deal, I guess. Any other things you guys want to focus on today or go over before we go into the agenda? We can just dive into that, or I can answer your questions.
Eric, if a broker's under 20 agents, they've either got to sell real estate. They can't rely on the agent's production to be profitable at all. So if you do get somebody you're talking that has under 20 agents, they're going to be a pretty good target here coming up in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's in the past when you had 50-50 commission splits, it was a different story, but now agents are wanting 80-20 or 90-10. And it's difficult for a brokerage to make money. Even our brokerage here in Pittsburgh, American Destiny, when we had it, we had moved all of our agents to 80-20 from 70-30. And then, Darren was looking at other models, different ways to make money with closing companies and mortgage companies. And it was just getting to be, it got to the point where that's why we moved over, because we couldn't be profitable. I mean, he was making like $30,000 a year having this brokerage, and that's not even worth it to take on that liability. So he's making the same amount of money as he was before without any admin. Doesn't have to cut a check, doesn't have to write, he doesn't have to look at a check. He basically just, everything's passed through. So yeah, I think you're right, Frank. More and more brokers are going to be looking at this. I still have a lot of stubborn people out there that, they like the fact that they built their brokerage, it's their baby, so to speak. And it's hard for them to give that up. But eventually they're going to see that it's just not the best model moving into, the next decade. It's just something's going to give, and it's probably going to be, they're going to have to let go and just basically share that, share the responsibility, but not take that all on themselves.
They're lucky if they're making 5 to 10% off their company dollar. So the
Yeah,
margins
no,
are really thin. I don't think most people realize how thin those margins are.
No, you still have overhead. I mean, you have building costs and liability costs. You have to, carry not only E&O, but your general liability insurance. And yeah, it's a lot to take on, but that's a big change. Are you all you guys going to 5-star? I don't know who's going. I know, Sean, you've talked about it. You should, you're real close. You're down there in Texas. But we'll probably have some more conversation there with people for sure. Let me just check something real quick here. Okay, that can wait. Well, the week 2 agenda basically is, basically covers the 1% approach in productivity. So, as a real, and this is something, even when you're talking to real estate agents, I think it's important for them to have a focus. Our focus from day one with our group has always been on production. Agent attraction is something that for us is a byproduct of that production. It's a conversation starter when you're a productive agent. It's easy to have those conversations with other people. There's a few of us in the group that focus on agent attraction for a variety of reasons. For myself personally, I've only been in the industry about 10 years. And for me, freedom and having my time back was more important to me than anything else. So I focus solely on the attraction side of things. And with a group like ours, it's unique in a way because we have a lot of different ways to find opportunities for agents. We not only have the American Destiny referral, REO referral group, but we've also tapped into MCM Capital Group, Templeview Capital. Now we're talking to Zillow and their Zillow Flex programs. Right now we have some stuff going on in Southern California, but quite honestly, we're looking to take this nationwide. And if anybody wants to lead the charge, we'd be happy to have conversations with you guys. It's a program that's being initiated through Zillow where agents will pay a commission on the sale, but Zillow has very stringent requirements to be able to participate in the program. It's not your old Zillow where you paid $1,000 a month and got so many leads and you just did whatever you want with those leads. They're actually monitoring your leads, making sure that you follow up with people, seeing what your conversion rate ratio is. And if you're not converting or agents in your group are not converting, they'll drop you from the program. So they want to turn this into a system where there's basically mega groups around the country that are set up to do this. And Larry, we're talking about the Zillow Flex right now. You can probably talk a little bit more on this because I think this is something as a group, we would like to get this going nationwide. We have it in Southern California, but if people were willing to take the ball and roll with this or, have conversations, maybe this is something that is another attraction piece for those agents in different parts of the country.
So I was just sitting down with Leo and Wendy Forsyth and stuff this weekend up in Seattle. Jared didn't want to see me. I'm not bitter or anything about it. Don't worry about it. I mean, I'm always in Seattle. No big deal. But Leo was saying in the US, EXP partners on 70%, or I'm sorry, 30% of the Zillow Flex accounts in the United States. So not all of them, but here's what he was saying. This is an attraction call here, right? And so he was like, they host a Zillow mastermind call and they're continuing to gain market share. If you guys know a Zillow Flex team leader, he's like, introduce him to Leo. He's like, I will get them in. I will bring them on for you, because in Canada, we control 100% of the Zillow Flex programs. Now, Zillow is not as big. It's the third largest website in Canada. It's the first here in the United States. But it is a big opportunity, and this mastermind is the top of the top. So if you know Zillow Flex team leaders, again, the company is irrelevant. Hey, I have a Zillow Flex mastermind with some of the top in the country. Let me introduce you to Larry, see like if that's something that I can get you on. It's a huge opportunity. And I think that will keep chipping away and gaining more and more of these top recruits. It's just a very lucrative structure, and we're going to continue to capture some market share and stuff as well.
Yeah, that's a good overview for sure. Does anybody have any questions about how Zillow works, or like there's nobody on this call? Well, Sean's on this call now. I mean, Sean could be participating. I'm not sure if this is something that would interest you, Sean, but it might interest Terry or Sasha in your group. There might be people that might want to be taking advantage of this. It's more along the lines of volume, volume of buy side opportunities, buyer side opportunities. And that what we were saying in the huddles today also is, you get more experience. The more at bats you get, the better you're going to get at your presentations. And this would be something that they might want to be talking to us about. I know they're hot and heavy in the LA area right now. Were they still accepting people into the program, Larry, or?
Still accepting, because they keep growing. Like that same Zillow Flex team in California wants to expand, but they need coverage. And the beautiful part about that is it's only on the Zillow Flex business, because here's the thing, realistically, it's about 1% of the commission. Areas like maybe Alabama or something like that, some people might be like, man, I don't want to go through that work for $2,000, $3,000. Los Angeles is different, right? I mean, you're looking at $7,000, $8,000 a paycheck of pre-qualified leads, because that group like has an ISA in place. They're answering the calls, they're pre-qualifying them, and then you're getting these warm leads that you gotta like get out there and just hustle with at the end of the day. So it's a big opportunity if somebody is not doing the amount of business that they're looking to do.
Hey, Eric, I just jump in only, so I'm not sure about what's about the Zillow.
Yeah, we can definitely have more of a conversation on this. Do you want to send him the video maybe, Larry, or did you want to watch the video, Sean, and we could talk a little bit more about it? I don't want to take up
Yeah,
the whole
sure.
call.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, we'll send that.
Yeah, because currently I am already a Zillow Premier agent, just on a couple of zip code, and it's giving me about 3 to 4 to 1 type of ROI. So yeah.
Okay.
So Zillow Premier, right? There's a big difference between Zillow Premier and Zillow Flex, right? So you're paying a monthly membership. With the Zillow Flex, why they're driving so much more business to the Zillow Flex is that they essentially take 1/3 of the commission. Zillow does, right? So like your Zillow account is probably expensive. You might be like $1,000. It might be more than that in Los Angeles, right? For your account. But what's more, $1,000 a month, so they make $12,000 a year off of you. Man, if they have a $1.5 million home, which isn't crazy in Los Angeles, right? Like that's not obnoxious. I mean, they're going to be making $15,000 off of that one transaction. And if they do this over and over and again. So that's why Zillow is driving more business that way, as long as the Zillow Flex teams are producing. If they're not producing, they get kicked out.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get that over to you. So any other questions, any other things that you guys want to focus on or talk about today with the call? I mean, it was pretty much, again, week 2, just, finding, by now you should have your list of people that you want to attract. You have a list of people and you have time that you've set aside in your calendar where you're going to make the calls. And I was thinking about this a lot in the last week. And there is something to be said about consistency. You know, that's about the only thing that I feel like I really do well is I consistently send out that newsletter. Every single Sunday, you're going to get a newsletter from me, unless I'm on my deathbed, and I'll probably still find a way to get it out. That's something I made a concerted effort to, you know, consistently do on a once a week basis. Whether I don't care if one person reads it or 100 people read it. For me, it's my outflow. So that's my value proposition to whoever I'm attracting, whoever I'm around. I would say, you know, for each of us on the call, you'd want to find something you can do yourself. Well, it could be a newsletter, it could be a mastermind call, it could be something in the community, you know, where it doesn't have to be on a weekly basis, it could be on a monthly basis, but it really should be on a consistent basis. You should do this consistently over and over and over again. I really love the idea of mastermind calls. You're doing something on Zoom where you're inviting people to come and listen to maybe half an hour. You have a topic, you have guests. Joseph Limo doesn't really do his own, mostly he has guests. You know, most every week he has a guest on his call, so he doesn't have to think about what to say each week. Larry, it's probably 50-50. 50% of the time it's him, 50% of the time it's a guest. And we're really trying to drive massive amounts of value to the agents within our group. What I've been doing recently is inviting people I've been talking to our masterminds. And I talked to one girl late last week on Thursday. She's been on 5 of our masterminds. You know, well, she might be on more, but the 5 I was on, she was on every one of them. Because she was talking to another brokerage and talking to our brokerage, and she was actually referred to me by another agent that's not even in our group. He's thinking about coming to our group. So that might be something you want to do as well, is maybe, you know, take the people that you're talking to and send them our schedule. Say, hey, look, you know, for the next, you can jump on our masterminds for the next 2 weeks. Don't make it sound like they can come anytime. You know, maybe even softly allude to the fact that, you know, we kind of change our links every so often, even though we don't, but just let them know, you know, come for the next 2 weeks, you know, check us out, see if you like what we have to offer, see if the information is valid, if they're looking at us, and if, you know, that's another thing of value you can bring to them. But try to have one thing that you can offer somebody. And again, for me, I have 2. I mean, I have this call, and I have our group call on Mondays, and I have the newsletter. But then I also, you know, I try to push everybody to Larry's call, try to push everybody to Joseph's call. Now we're using, you know, Robert Welcart's been helping out a lot, so we've been, you know, using him and his calls, because he has a lot of valuable information to provide, at least not only on the target goal setting, but he's great at prospecting, and he's also, you know, a master in REO. So there's a lot of value that that Robert can drive to the group as well. So, you know, that's basically all we wanted to focus on this week, is just, you know, try to keep the people that you're talking to engaged. You're reaching out to them, you're talking to them on a regular basis, and, you know, keep driving value to them any way you possibly can. Just have to figure out what that value proposition is that you can offer the people around you.
Yeah, I have a question to Larry. I think, Larry, you recruit Vinny Ma from Oakland, right? So
Say one more time.
you recruit Vinny
Yes.
from Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he jumped around quite a few you know, franchise, you know, Keller Williams and a few like that, you know. So what do you tell him that, you know, get him interested to join our group? Remember?
Oh, very good question, right? Yeah, very good question there. So this is where, like, my goal every single day is to set appointments. That is it. And it's never around EXP, right? So the Zillow Flex program, I took my database of every agent that I knew in Southern California. I didn't talk about a company. And I basically sent a mass email, which I'm not a huge advocate of, but again, I couldn't get to all of these agents. Let's say there was 1,000 agents. And I was like, hey, Sean, I got an opportunity in Southern California to be a part of one of the biggest Zillow Flex teams. The beautiful part is they only take a referral fee on that business, and your business is your own, right? It would require you to transfer to their brokerage. It's an 80-20 split, has a low cap of 16,000. That was it, right? Didn't talk about stock, didn't talk about revenue share, etc. And I sent that out, and I probably set 20 appointments from that over the last couple of weeks. Similar, right? I have ARIA Networks. I think something came from Northern California on that one. I had a group up there in Northern California that has been very busy. It's actually not in Eric Bengal's group or American Destiny or anything like that, but they have been slammed in like San Jose, and San Francisco area, where like one agent has, now granted, their price points are higher, right? Like 3 properties is $12 million in production, which is like, damn, I'm living in the wrong place, right? And so I had sent something out like talking about setting up for this next default cycle. Look, I have some clients now, they need more REO listing agents and stuff up there. And then once I was able to actually connect with Vinny, obviously he has some REO experience, right? He has this background, and we were talking about some of these different opportunities. And then I had found out, you know, that he was already at EXP. He knew about, like, he's been here before. He was part of Fast Agent and Kenny Trong. He was part of Kenny Trong's group up there. And just like, he was like, look, I really want to position for this next cycle and stuff like that. And I was like, great, like, let's do this. I was very honest with him that California is slow in inventory, right? Like, it's few and far between, but the price points are higher. But at some point here in the near future, I think that dam will break in that California market. And that's where we will be positioned with the companies and stuff that are within our group, and get you aligned with every other company and stuff that I can think of as well. Like, here's a list of them. So again, it was problem, solution. And a lot of that comes from the appointment of asking the right questions and figuring out what they need. I'll give you another example. You know, Jared just introduced me to another agent that was over at Windermere. Looks like he's officially going to be over today, that his license was transferred and stuff like that, right? The guy's just getting back into real estate, had a lot of REO experience, has a few listings and stuff like that, and was kind of going back and forth and was like, well, hey, can I transfer over in the first 3 months or 6 months, be at 100%? And what about my listings? I was like, look, we can go through and get this approved. I think you're stepping over $1 to pick up a quarter right now. I was like, can you show me a contract paperwork? And he's like, yeah, look, essentially I pay $1,200 a month and a 5% commission. I was like, okay, so you're not at 100%, right? So would you be willing to do that, right? Like, are you going to pay $1,200 here? Like, I feel like we're just making this really complicated versus getting you in here, getting you into the system, because Washington's different. Washington is busy right now, right? Like, Washington has a lot of business opportunities and stuff coming in. It's different than Florida and California that are really dry right now. So again, I knew the problem is he had experience, but had zero inventory for the last 6 years. You know, we had talked about Jared's, you know, experience and stuff like that. And that was kind of a win. So for me, every conversation that I have is totally different, right? Mashawn was totally different. Like, we didn't start talking about REOs until 4 years into it, right? For the first 3 years, it was about building his team. How do we leverage? How do we duplicate? How do we level up his success and surround him with people that are willing to help him, that are already doing more business and stuff, right? And so this is where, again, it's for me, it's not a one size fits all. It's a very calculated plan for each person and plugging them into the tools and resources. And that's where it's not duplicatable for you guys to be me. It's not duplicatable for me to be Frank or Sean. But what is duplicatable is what Eric Bengal has been so consistent with: targeting, setting appointments, targeting, setting appointments. And after he has a conversation, then he introduces to me. What is duplicatable for all of you is targeting, setting an appointment with Eric. targeting, setting an appointment with Eric. And then once he has a call, you know what he's going to do? Set an appointment with me. And then about 67 days later, after we have this rapport and relationship, I'm going to go for the close. But only after I know where they're at, I know what they're getting from their brokerage, I know more importantly where they're not at and what they're not getting from their brokerage, and where we can fill in those holes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think that's a
Sorry,
good.
that was a long answer, right? But like, hopefully, you know, that gave you kind of a better idea.
Yeah, I think the important thing is make sure you're reaching out to your contacts, because if you're not, other people are, and if you might lose that opportunity if you don't reach out to these people. They might go with somebody else. You don't want that to happen. It's like the same thing when somebody goes with a different realtor that you know, because you didn't follow up with your sphere. Your sphere of agents in your group should be touched by you on a fairly regular basis, probably monthly, probably more than that, until if you haven't talked to them for a while, you want to reestablish that connection with them, and then get them onto your drip or get them onto some sort of a campaign where you're talking to them on a fairly regular basis, especially if you belong to groups, organizations, you've held positions of leadership, and you're an opinion leader in them. That makes it even better. So I have a call right now that I have to jump off this call and to get onto that call. Is there anything else that you guys, and I have about a minute or two to before I have to do that, but is there anything else that you guys wanted to review today, or is there anything that you need me to send to you guys via email or text to get, you know, to help you out with anything?
Yeah, for me, the Zero Flex, which I didn't didn't hear from the beginning. I'm kind of interested because, you know.
Yeah, Larry just sent you that information.
I sent you that video. That will give you all of the details on it. And then if you're interested, just let us know and we will get you in touch with Joseph and James, and they will get you going in that program.
Okay, all right. There you go.
Yeah, we're still pretty much ground floor on that, so it's good to be getting into that now if you can. And again, you talk to Sasha, talk to Terry; they might be interested as well. All right, guys. Anything else?
We don't have it in Houston yet, right?
Nope. I do not believe that we have a Zillow Flex team. I will reach out to a few people. There might be like there's a couple of groups that I could think of that would have it, but not off the top of my head. But I will reach out and find out.
All right, guys. Well, I got to jump on this call. If you guys need anything else from me, call, text, or email me. We'll get back to you, and then we'll put these notes up onto the YouTube channel if you want to watch the replay. But again, reach out to me with any other problems or issues, and we can have a conversation offline if that's needed. So you guys have a good rest of the day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Thanks.
sir.